My father handed over the $4 million woodworking business that I personally built from the ground up to my older sister, simply because she had children, while completely disregarding my decade of sacrifice and loyalty. So I walked away and turned his betrayal into the foundation of my own thriving empire. My father bequeathed the $4 million enterprise I meticulously cultivated from the ground up to my sister, simply because she had children. Consequently, I departed. I am Selena, a 33-year-old woman who recently found herself plunged into a family drama that compelled me to question everything I once understood about integrity and devotion. My father, whom I had regarded as a mentor and business partner for over a decade, dropped a bombshell that completely shattered my reality. Allow me to set the scene. My father, Dominic, is a 65-year-old master carpenter who has operated a modest woodworking shop his entire existence. From a young age, I was captivated by his artistry. The rich scent of sawdust, the meticulous precision of his cuts, the astonishing metamorphosis of raw lumber into exquisite furniture. While other children were engaged in typical childhood pastimes, I was in Dad's workshop, absorbing knowledge about grain patterns and joinery techniques. My older sister, Brittany, who is 39, embarked on a distinctly different trajectory. She pursued higher education in Boston, obtained her business degree, and secured a corporate position in Manhattan. Growing up, she was mortified by Dad's blue-collar occupation. She would decline to inform her prep school friends what her father did for a living, fabricating narratives about him being an interior design consultant. When I would assist Dad in the workshop on weekends, Brittany would roll her eyes and declare I was squandering my potential on menial tasks. However, the dynamic between Dad and Brittany wasn't always like this. When she was 15, she contracted mononucleosis and was confined to her bed for an extended period. The physicians were genuinely concerned about complications, and our entire family was terrified we might lose her. During those protracted weeks, Brittany desired only Dad by her side. He would sit with her for hours, reading her favorite books, bringing her homemade soup, never leaving her alone when she was afraid. They forged an unbreakable connection during that vulnerable time, which altered everything. After she recovered, Dad continued favoring Brittany. This persisted even though she had grown up to utterly disregard his chosen profession. It mattered not that she would make disparaging remarks about his calloused hands or suggest he should transition to a desk job. He still adored her as if she were the very center of his universe. The subtle favoritism was evident early on, and I admit, it stung. There was this one instance in high school when I advanced to the state championship for my debate team. I was immensely proud. Our school hadn't seen a state qualifier in over a decade. When I informed my parents, Mom embraced me tightly while Dad smiled and said, "That's wonderful, sweetheart." I mentioned how the tournament was scheduled for Saturday and parents were invited to observe. Mom worked double shifts at the hospital, so my gaze drifted hopefully to Dad, but he hesitated, glancing at Mom, who inquired if he could be there for me. Dad cleared his throat and stated he had promised to take Brittany shopping for her college interview ensembles. Mom looked annoyed and told him shopping could wait. This was important. Dad nodded reluctantly. The evening prior to the tournament, Mom reminded Dad about it over dinner. That's when Brittany interjected, asking if Dad was truly going to abandon their shopping excursion. She elaborated on how this was her future, how she required the perfect attire to make a strong impression, and how she had been anticipating their father-daughter time. His resolve dissolved instantly. The day of the tournament, I reminded Dad one last time before departing for school. He assured me he would be there, that I shouldn't worry. But as I stood on that stage delivering my final argument, my eyes desperately scoured the audience for his familiar face. He never appeared. I texted Mom, indicating Dad wasn't there. She called immediately, concerned something had befallen him. When I arrived home, I walked into the midst of a heated confrontation between my parents. The atmosphere crackled with palpable tension. Mom was furious. "Where were you, Dominic? You promised Selena you'd be there." Before Dad could answer, Brittany walked in carrying shopping bags from Nordstrom, looking utterly unconcerned. Mom turned on her. "Really? You dragged your father to the mall while your sister was competing at state. Brittany shrugged with that familiar, entitled indifference I had come to detest. I needed professional clothes for my interviews. It's not like Selena's debate thing was that important. That's when Dad exacerbated the situation. Instead of offering an apology, he defended Brittany. Look, it's not a significant matter. It's just a high school debate tournament. There will be other competitions. Brittany needed interview clothes for her college applications. That's her future we're discussing. Those words landed like a physical blow. My own father was dismissing my achievement, something I had labored months to qualify for, as if it held no significance. The casual way he brushed aside one of the most triumphant moments of my life left me speechless. I managed to offer a weak smile and assure him it was acceptable, that I understood, but inwardly, I was crushed. I retreated to my room and wept harder than I had in years. Mom came to comfort me, holding me while I sobbed about feeling invisible within my own family. "Your dad erred," she said softly. "But your achievement is genuine, and I'm so proud of you. Sometimes people make mistakes, but that doesn't diminish what you've accomplished." This pattern unfortunately recurred throughout my upbringing. Dad would make efforts to treat us equally after Mom confronted him, but he would always revert to favoring Brittany. Despite the consistent disappointment, I persisted in trying to earn his true recognition. I genuinely loved woodworking and carpentry, partly because it seemed like something he valued, but predominantly because I discovered profound joy in creating beautiful items with my hands. After high school, I attended trade school for cabinetry and furniture design while Brittany went to her prestigious college. When I graduated, I returned home and began working with Dad in his shop. I was 23, bursting with enthusiasm and innovative concepts, ready to help him expand what had always been a small, local business. Dad had 2 part-time employees and perhaps 6 regular clients when I started. But I had vision. I implemented digital marketing, launched an Instagram account showcasing our work, and reached out to interior designers and contractors. Within a year, we quadrupled our client roster. Over the next decade, I devoted every fiber of my being to transforming Dad's modest workshop into a flourishing furniture and cabinetry enterprise. We progressed from $180,000 in annual revenue to just shy of $4 million this past year. We now employ 28 individuals and have a waiting list 6 months long for custom furniture. While Dad still performs the hands-on woodworking he cherishes, I oversee all other operations: client relations, design consultations, business development, marketing, finances. I work 60-hour weeks, split between the workshop and our new office space. This business became the culmination of my effort, my life's passion, and my envisioned future. Last year, everything fundamentally changed when Dad filed for divorce from Mom. They had been arguing with increasing frequency over the years, and their marriage finally reached its breaking point. It was heartbreaking for a family unit, but honestly, I wasn't entirely surprised. What did astonish me was how swiftly Dad commenced dating after the divorce was finalized. He went through a succession of relationships with women who could have been his children. Each one seemed more interested in his recently acquired prosperity than anything else. 5 months ago, Dad summoned both Brittany and me for what he described as an important family dinner. We gathered at his new condo, a minimalist, contemporary residence that was a stark contrast to the warm, familiar home of our youth. The air was thick with unspoken tension from the outset. Dad cleared his throat and announced, "I have something significant to convey to you both. Vanessa and I got married last weekend." Brittany and I exchanged shocked glances. Vanessa, his latest girlfriend, was only 31 years old, just 2 years younger than me. She was a social media personality who had been captivating my father for the past 6 months with her discourse on living life to the fullest and deserving the best. "You got married without inviting us?" I inquired, attempting to process this revelation. Dad looked defensive. "We wanted something small and intimate. You know how Vanessa is about large gatherings." I knew exactly how Vanessa was. She was calculating and manipulative, but Dad was blinded by infatuation. But that wasn't the worst part of his announcement. I've also been contemplating succession planning for the business, Dad continued, his tone becoming more serious. I've made some decisions about the future. A surge of anticipation coursed through me. After 10 years of building this company together, this was the moment I had been waiting for. I expected him to discuss gradually shifting more leadership to me, perhaps even making me a partner. Instead, he delivered the devastating blow that would alter everything. Selena, I've decided that since you're not married and don't have children, you won't be inheriting the business. I'm giving it entirely to Brittany. The room spun around me. My breath hitched. What? I managed to whisper. Brittany has a family. Her husband David and their 2 kids. They need the financial security. She can take the business to new heights with her corporate background. I stared at him in disbelief. Dad, I built this business with you. I've poured my entire adult life into its growth. How can you just? You can continue working in your current position under Brittany's management, he interrupted. But the ownership, however, transfers to your sister. That decision is final. I turned to Brittany, desperately hoping she would speak up for me, demonstrate some sisterly loyalty. Instead, she remained conspicuously silent, averting my gaze. She was actually going to allow this to transpire. This isn't fair, I said, my voice breaking. I've given everything to this business. What about my future, my dreams? Dad's response was cold and conclusive. Life isn't always fair, Selena. Family comes first, and Brittany has a family to provide for. The depth of this betrayal surpassed any physical wound. This wasn't solely about the business. It was about a lifetime of being second best, of having my contributions minimized, of never being sufficient in my father's eyes. I looked at Brittany one more time, silently pleading with her to utter something, anything. But she just stared at her hands, likely assessing the imminent financial gain. Fine, I said quietly, rising from the table. If that's how you wish it to be. I walked out of that condo knowing I would never return. The drive home was a haze of tears and indignant fury. A decade of my life, seemingly squandered. 10 years of constructing something beautiful, only to have it ripped away because I had made the choice to focus on my career instead of rushing into marriage and children. That night, I called Mom and recounted everything. She was as shocked as I was. I never thought he'd do something this cruel, she said, her voice heavy with disappointment. To give the entire business to Brittany instead of equitably dividing it between us. It's inexcusable. I would have been fine with a 50-50 split, I told her through my tears. Or even 60-40 in her favor, but to exclude me entirely after everything I've done. Mom was quiet for a long moment. Then her voice became stronger, more resolute. You know what? Perhaps this is a blessing in disguise. You've accumulated 10 years of experience, incredible skills, and a stellar reputation in this industry. Why don't you launch your own company? Half those clients would probably follow you anyway. Her words ignited a flicker of resolve within me. If Dad thought he could toss me aside like mere refuse, he was about to learn how profoundly mistaken he was. Over the past decade, I had been judicious with my finances. I had saved over $300,000, living modestly while channeling the majority of my profits back into the enterprise. It was more than enough to establish my own company. The next morning, I began making calls. I reached out to our biggest clients, the ones I had personally brought in, the relationships I had cultivated over years of exceptional service. I explained the situation candidly. Dad was transferring the business to my sister, and I was starting my own company. The response was truly remarkable. One client after another affirmed their personal allegiance to me. They had worked with me for years, trusted my design sensibility, appreciated my meticulous attention to detail. Many of them had never even met Brittany. We work with you, not your father, said Margaret Chun, who had commissioned 3 custom kitchens from us over the years. If you're starting your own business, we're following you. Within a week, I had commitments from 65% of our client base. These weren't merely customers. They were individuals who had become friends, who entrusted me with their most important projects, who knew I would always deliver exceptional work. Word spread quickly throughout our industry. Several of our most talented craftsmen approached me privately, expressing interest in transitioning their employment. They had discerned the inevitable outcome. With Brittany in charge and me gone, the business would flounder. 2 weeks later, I submitted my resignation letter to Dad. He was incensed. "You can't just abandon the business now," he yelled into the phone. "We have contracts to fulfill." "I'm giving you 2 weeks' notice," I said calmly. "That's more than you gave me when you decided to hand over my life's work to someone who's never spent a day in the workshop." "This is sabotage," he screamed. "This is business," I replied and ended the call. Starting Selena's custom creations was simultaneously the most terrifying and most invigorating undertaking of my life. I discovered a perfect workshop space in an old converted warehouse, complete with abundant natural light, soaring ceilings, and room for expansion. The lease was reasonable, and the location was actually superior to Dad's shop. My first few weeks were a frenzy of dedicated effort. I hired 3 of Dad's best craftsmen who decided to make the jump with me. Maria Santos, who had been with the company for 8 years, became my production manager. Jake Thompson, a master cabinet maker, brought his incredible attention to detail. And Lisa Park, a young but incredibly talented wood finisher, rounded out our core team. The clients who had committed to following me were true to their word. Within a month, I had enough orders to ensure a solid 3 months of continuous work. My phone was ringing constantly with new inquiries. Word of mouth in the custom furniture world travels swiftly, and my reputation for quality work went before me. Meanwhile, I heard through the grapevine that Dad's business was foundering. Brittany had relocated back from New York with her family, expecting to seamlessly step into a flourishing enterprise, but she understood nothing about woodworking, nothing about managing craftsmen, nothing about the crucial relationships that kept clients returning. Mom would provide updates when I called her. "Your sister's been complaining that the remaining clients are demanding to work with you specifically," she told me one evening. "She's finding out it's not as easy as she thought." I harbored no joy in their difficulties, but I felt vindicated. This business wasn't merely about money. It was about relationships, craftsmanship, and reputation. You cannot simply inherit those things. 3 months into my new venture, I was not only enduring but flourishing. We had completed several major projects that had our clients extolling the quality of our creations. I had secured a contract with a high-end hotel chain to design custom furniture for their lobby renovations. My Instagram account had gained thousands of followers, and interior designers were reaching out from 3 states away. The most satisfying aspect wasn't the financial prosperity. It was the creative freedom. For the first time in years, I was designing pieces that truly excited me, extending the creative frontiers of what was possible with wood and craftsmanship. Without Dad's conservative approach holding me back, I was crafting furniture that was both functional and artistic. One evening, as I was finishing up an especially intricate dining table, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was from Dad. "Selena, we need to talk. The business is in trouble, and I think we can work something out. Can you come over for dinner this weekend?" My gaze lingered on the message. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let them figure out their own problems. But another part of me, the part that still remembered working alongside Dad in his workshop, learning from him, sharing the joy of creation, wanted to hear what he had to say. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet with him. Walking into Dad's condo that Saturday evening felt like stepping into a trap. The moment I saw Brittany sitting at the dining table, I knew this wasn't going to be the sincere mea culpa I had quietly anticipated. Dad looked visibly strained and wearied. Brittany looked frustrated and defensive. The atmosphere was tense from the moment I sat down. "I'm glad you came," Dad began, his voice guarded and deliberate. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened between us, and I want to find a way to move forward." I raised an eyebrow, waiting for him to continue. "The business is struggling without you," he admitted. "We've lost more clients than we anticipated, and the ones who stayed are asking for you specifically. I think we can devise a suitable arrangement." Here it comes, I thought, the real reason for this dinner. "I'm willing to forgive what happened," Dad continued. "If you come back to the business, we can put this whole mess behind us and get back to building something great together." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Forgive what transpired? You mean, absolve you for usurping my life's endeavor? Brittany jumped in, her voice sharp and accusatory. You took our clients, Selena. You sabotaged the business out of spite. I didn't take anything, I retorted. Those clients chose to work with me because I'm the one who cultivated genuine connections with them. You're welcome to try to win them back if you think you can do better. Dad held up his hand, attempting to regain control of the conversation. Look, I don't want to see the family business fail. It's been my life's work, and now it's how I fund my retirement. Vanessa left me because of all this financial stress, and I just want to enjoy my golden years in peace. There it was. The underlying impetus. This wasn't about family or reconciliation. It was about money. So stop being selfish and come back to work for your sister, Dad continued. We can all benefit from this arrangement. The sheer audacity of their demand left me breathless. After everything they had put me through, they wanted me to humble myself and rescue them from the consequences of their own actions. I stood up, my decision absolutely resolute. I'm done with this conversation. I'm done with all of you. Selena, wait, Dad started. No, I said firmly. I built my own business from nothing once. I can do it again, but I won't be coerced into salvaging yours. I walked out of that condo for the second and final time, knowing I would never look back. The months that followed unfolded as a period of remarkable growth and triumph. Word of my confrontation with Dad and Brittany spread through our industry, and surprisingly, it attracted even greater commercial interest. People respected the fact that I had stood up for myself and built something new rather than accepting unfair treatment. My business soared. We moved to a larger facility, hired 10 more employees, and had a waiting list stretching 8 months out. I was featured in Fine Woodworking magazine and Interior Design Quarterly. The hotel chain contract led to 3 more significant commercial projects. But the personal victory was even sweeter. I had started dating again, something I had overlooked during my single-minded dedication to the enterprise. I met David Rodriguez, an architect who comprehended and valued my fervor for craftsmanship. We had been together for 8 months, and I was happier than I had been in years. Meanwhile, Dad's business continued to decline. Mom kept me updated on the situation, though I had asked her not to feel obligated to do so. They had to let go of 6 employees last month, she told me during one of our weekly calls. Brittany's been trying to manage everything, but she's in over her head. She's talking about selling the business to a larger company. I felt a touch of sorrow, not for Dad and Brittany, but for the employees who were suffering because of their poor decisions. Several more of their craftsmen had approached me about jobs, and I had been able to hire a few of them. 6 months later, Mom called with the final update. They sold the business to Morrison Furniture Corporation. Your father didn't get much for it. Apparently, the client base and reputation had deteriorated too much. Most of what he did get went to legal fees from the divorce from Vanessa. I felt a peculiar blend of emotions, relief that this protracted saga had reached its conclusion, sadness for the demise of what was once a cherished family enterprise. But mostly, I felt immensely proud. I had taken the worst betrayal of my life and transformed it into the best thing that ever happened to me. Today, Selena's Custom Creations employs 35 people and generates over $12 million in annual revenue. We've expanded into commercial furniture design and have clients across the country. But more importantly, it's a place where craftsmanship is valued, where staff are treated with equity, and where every piece that leaves our workshop is a testament to our unwavering commitment to excellence. I'm planning to propose to David next month. We're discussing starting a family, and I smile when I think about teaching my future children the craft I love so much. They'll grow up knowing that diligent effort, integrity, and self-advocacy are the bedrock of true achievement. As for Dad and Brittany, I occasionally receive updates through mutual friends. Dad ended up taking a job with Morrison Furniture, working in the same workshop he once owned, but now as an employee rather than the proprietor. Brittany moved back to New York and returned to corporate accounting. Sometimes I wonder if they ever reflect on what could have been if they treated me fairly from the beginning. But then I look around at the business I've built, the team I've assembled, and the life I've created, and I realize their profound betrayal proved to be the most invaluable gift they could have given me. It compelled me to unearth the depths of my own resilience.